From the News Channel 5 Network, this is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us tonight on News Channel 5. Plus, it is a big night because of the return of the King. Derrick Henry back in practice today for the first time in 9 weeks with the Tennessee Titans, out on the field doing drills. We assume he did more than that, although we weren't there to see it. We just got to see the stretching and some of the early drill portions. But Henry was leading the running back line through all that stuff as if nothing ever happened 9 weeks ago, which is certainly a wonderful thing to see. By being designated to return today, it starts a 21-day window in which the Titans have to evaluate him, and he has to work his way back up to speed off of that broken foot and see if he's ready to go and come back to the active roster and play. Now, that could happen as soon as the next couple of days. It's possible that he could play in Houston against the Texans for the final game of the regular season on Sunday. We think that's unlikely. No real indication that the Titans are going to rush that. They should be able to beat the Texans without him, and if they do, they lock up the #1 seed in the AFC and home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. But even more importantly than that, the first-round bye. They would be able to avoid playing on Wild Card Weekend, and it would get Henry even more time to work his way into a comfort level of being back on the field and work his way back up to game speed before the Titans really, really need him in the divisional round. So that's the best case scenario. He gets rest Sunday, they go get a win, and then he gets a couple more weeks of practice to get ready for a divisional round game. But he's back, and there certainly was some excitement about that. Ryan Tannehill said over and over again just how exciting it was to have a playmaker of his caliber back and what that could potentially mean for the offense. And they hope, obviously, that he can return sooner than later once they get a feel of exactly what he's up to on the field. Mike Vrabel, on the other hand, did not want to spend a lot of time talking about Derrick Henry today. He very much tried to focus the attitude with the media, and I'm sure with his players as well, on the idea that whether he can go or not this weekend, we still have to play a game. The 53 guys who are ultimately on the active roster have to get ready to play the Texans Sunday in Houston, and they need to win. The Titans have clinched the playoff berth. They've clinched the AFC South. But that 1 seed, for all the reasons we just mentioned, is vitally important. And they've got to be ready to play because, remember, it was just a month and a half ago that in Nissan Stadium, the Titans played probably their worst game of the season against the Texans. They turned the ball over 5 times. They were atrocious offensively, and not even a pretty darn good defensive performance could save them against a team that at that point had won 2 games. The Texans came in here and won. Spoiled the party. And you do not want that to happen again on Sunday in Houston. And you feel like that message got across today to some of the guys, because even talking to Taylor Lewan, who will go out of his way at all times to talk about Derrick Henry and the impact he has and the value he has to this offense, Lewan sat there today and said multiple times, he said, look, it's good to see Derrick out here, but we've got to focus on what we've got to do this week. And we don't know if he's going to be a part of us within the game plan this week. He was asked again about it, and he kind of doubled down on the answer, and he simply said, look, Derrick Henry is a phenomenal player. And when he's back and able to play in a game, we're going to be very fortunate as a team because we're going to have one of the best players in the league who can be a game changer every time he touches the ball back. But until then, we've got to do what we've done for the last 9 weeks and still try to get ready as a football team. Try to be better than we were the last week. Try to win another football game. And Sunday's an important game to go win. The Titans said all the right things today, but you have to understand the excitement level of having a guy like that back. And oh, by the way, Julio Jones was back at practice today. He was activated off the COVID list on Monday, back today at practice. And here's the thing there, is as he moves further and further away from that hamstring injury, or so you hope, and now you get this COVID thing behind you. I don't know how much you get off of Julio Jones this weekend or in the playoffs, but here's the thing. The Titans have gotten to this point with the offense not being at the level that anyone expected it to be coming into the year. Derrick Henry was MVP caliber from the running back position for 8 weeks. And now he's been gone for the last 8 games. A.J. Brown's been terrific, but he's missed 4 games. You've lost Marcus Johnson. Josh Reynolds was a disaster and requested to be traded. You've had injuries up front on the offensive line. Backups at running back have gone down. And while they've continued to run the ball effectively, especially here over the last month, and Brown has come back and been a real factor in the passing game for Ryan Tannehill, Tannehill himself hasn't been nearly as efficient or, frankly, nearly as good as he was the last couple of years. So the Titans haven't lived up to the expectation offensively, and chief among those guys has been Julio Jones. Julio Jones is a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. And he was supposed to come in here and be either 1A or 1B alongside A.J. Brown. And other than one game against Seattle back in week 2, when Brown wasn't there, or actually Brown struggled, had a really rough day, and Julio Jones stepped up, had a 100-yard game. And then maybe you throw in the first half against Buffalo, when he was terrific in that first half as well with a couple of big catches. Other than that, you really haven't seen anything like what you expected from Julio Jones. And I'm not here to say that now that he's back and the hamstring's in the rearview mirror, you hope, and the COVID's in the rearview mirror, that Julio Jones is all of a sudden going to look like vintage Atlanta Julio. But here's the thing. It wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to think that you're going to get more from Julio moving from this point forward than what you've got in the past. Because at times you've gotten nothing in the past. And you've gotten to this point at 11-5 and a division champion without having any of that. So if you can now all of a sudden start to get 3 or 4 catches a week from Jones, with A.J. Brown doing what he's doing now, and with Derrick Henry coming back into the offense probably in a couple of weeks, now all of a sudden that offense could start to look like what we thought it could be. And then you match that with the defense that has exceeded all expectations and helped the Titans to get to this point. And now you can really build on something in the postseason and really feel like you have a shot to get to L.A. and be in the Super Bowl and maybe even win the whole thing if they can piece that offense together. And Ryan Tannehill even said that to me today. He said, look, we've done some positive things here in the last month, but certainly we still have room to build on that. And hopefully as we get some of these guys back, as Julio comes back into the fold and then Derrick comes back to play, hopefully we can start to click on all cylinders and take this offense to another level and take this team to another level. And that's the thing. The Titans have gotten to this place with the offense not being anywhere near what we expected it could be this year. And if there is another level in the offense, look out. Because the Titans have found a way to win. They've found a way with defense and grit and guys stepping up. But if they can get the 3 best offensive players they have to be the 3 best offensive players they have in January and then in a game in February, it is absolutely possible that this Titans team could win the world title. And that is the encouraging thing of seeing number 22 on the field today. Because without him, there's no chance of reaching peak potential. It's just pulling it all together. But with Derrick Henry back, Peak potential is out there. Doesn't mean they'll get there, but it is now on the table for this offense for the first time in at least a couple of months to once again realize what we all thought we might see this season back in the summer, back in training camp. And now we may finally see it at the most important time of year. All right, our phone lines are open tonight, 737-7767 if you'd like to get in. But when we come back, we'll get to our buddy Jonathan Hutton of Outkick, talk about the return of Derrick Henry, talk about this game on Sunday in Houston, what we expect from the Titans, and what we expect about their playoff spot and what the AFC looks like here. All that straight ahead. This is SportsLine on News Channel 5+.